need to redeem myself. Today, I went from getting, 4 predictions right out of 5 for UFC 298 to getting, I think, only 2 right for 299. So this is the redemption arc. We're getting back on the right path here, guys. And before I get started, you already know I'm trying to get as close to 25,000 subscribers as possible before my birthday at the end of May. So if you enjoy ASMR and the UFC and a combination of the two, please consider hitting the subscribe button. I make sporty ASMR videos on this channel, and if you're already a subscriber, please hit that like button. The more likes we get, the likelier we are to get these picks right. I'm pretty sure this is how that works. So let's get started with the first fight on the main card. Nickal versus Cody Brundage. And look, they keep promoting this card, this event, as like the greatest card of all time. I can't count the number of times that I've seen an ad this month where Dana tells me how good this card is. But then on the main card, you have a minus 1350 betting favorite. That's an implied win probability of 93% for Nickal. That is very annoying to me. You know, we talked about Ronda Rousey on the last Hot Takes video. And Nickal's story is sort of shaping up very similarly so far. Here's this kid who is an NCAA gold medalist in wrestling. He won the under 23s world championship. He had one pro MMA fight before going on the Contender Series, although, let's be honest, he was probably booked for the Contender Series before that fight. I think there was like a 2-month turnaround or something. And then he immediately gets on the main card at 285, UFC 290, and now 300. And it's nothing against Nickal, other than maybe he's happy to get these shots. He's not asking for better fights. But look at the guys he's fought. Jamie Pickett, Val Woodburn, and now Cody Brundage. At this point, these are not pay-per-view fighters. Certainly not main card pay-per-view fighters. So again, so far, I can say that Nickal is a good fighter. I don't know if he's a great fighter. He hasn't had those types of opponents yet that will tell me if he's a great fighter. And back to Ronda Rousey, she was a good fighter. And then she got Holly Holm. And then she got Amanda Nunes. And to be fair, I think Ronda Rousey was like minus 1,400 for the home fight. And I plan on making like a biggest UFC upsets video in a couple of weeks. But I do think there's a difference in roster depth between the women's bantamweight division in 2015 and the men's middleweight division in 2024. But look, if Brundage gets the win this weekend, I promise I will give him his own video on Sunday morning. But yeah, my issue is with the UFC pushing Nickal so hard and so desperately. Either give him better opponents or stick him on the undercard. I just needed to rant about this one. I don't have much to say about the fight. Bo Nickal wins. Let's move on. So the second fight. Charles Oliveira versus Arman Tsarukyan. Two guys actually who are coming off of a first round KO on Beneil Dariush. So Charles, still so tough, so dangerous at 34. This is a guy who's been in the UFC since 2010, and he's evolved with the sport. I think he's so good for MMA when he makes weight. Like, truly so dangerous everywhere in the octagon. I don't know if I can think of another fighter who is more dangerous on their back than Oliveira. He's happy to work from the bottom. That being said, he's a little bit predictable. He will keep you at a distance with kicks or punches if he has the rage advantage. He's got a good wingspan, and his accuracy has been decent in recent fights. And then he'll take you down when he gets a shot. And again, he's happy to just like pull you down on top of him because he's so good on his back. So he'll eventually get you to the ground. He doesn't necessarily need an advantageous position. Tsarukyan, on the other hand, a little less predictable. Great fight IQ. He's a quick thinker. Very fast reaction times. That knee on Dariush was a thing of beauty. But he is a grappler, and I'm excited to see what his approach to this fight will be. In a way, I want to say that he gets to determine where this fight goes. But do you really ever have a choice with Oliveira? I think this is my risky prediction for this card. I think Tsarukyan will draw blood, but he can't just ground and pound Oliveira like he's used to doing so successfully, because you can't just give your arms up to Oliveira. So I say, my prediction is that Oliveira is winning this fight. Now, Gaethje versus Holloway. And can we please get rid of the BMF title? It was funny as a one-time thing, and they ruined it by making it like a big wrestling style show. Nothing against wrestling, but wrestling and mixed martial arts are two different sports. And I'm firmly in the camp that it should have just been a one-off between Diaz and Masvidal, and something to look back on and say, oh yeah, remember when they fought over who was the baddest mother? But I think making a belt and involving The Rock and keeping it going is just, it's all way too much for me. But BMF or not, this should be a fantastic fight. And look, we're dealing with two veterans here, so I'll make this quick. If this goes to decision, I think Max will want to control the center more than Gaethje will. I also think he might throw more. Whether or not they land, he will be striking, probably outstriking Gaethje. And just generally, I expect him to have the better gas tank. I'm pretty sure this is a 5-rounder. So I think it'll look better for Max if this goes to decision. On the other hand, Max is moving up for this one to lightweight. So I kind of have to wonder how that'll affect his conditioning. Now Gaethje has got more power, and he could potentially give Max his first KO loss if he catches him early. Max, is it just me, or does it feel like Max should be like 60 by now? I'm almost his age, and I'm always surprised when I'm reminded of that. He's been around forever, and his chin will have to give up at some point. This guy's been around. The question is, will this fight go more than 3 rounds? And I'll rely on Max's footwork and his striking defense. And also just these guys getting a bit older now to say that yes, it will go over 3 rounds. So I guess I'm giving this one to Max Holloway. There you go. It's been decided. Now, Weili versus Xiaonan for the strawweight title. I am excited. no messing around between these two. Start with Weili. She likes to control the octagon. She doesn't fight to win on points. Like, she throws with power. She strikes to knock you out, but she's also very methodical, very smart fighter, and she will touch you up when she needs to make sure that if it does go to decision, she will have those points. She'll have those numbers. Also, we don't necessarily think of Weili as a grappler, as a ground fighter. Maybe that's because her most memorable fight was the Xiaonan brawl, but also historically she was much more of a striker, a stand-up fighter. But she is skilled on the ground too. She submitted Esparza for the title. And then, remember in the first round of the Lemos fight, she got out of a submission and then took her back, then kept bringing it to the ground after that, like about a minute into each round. I think it was a 5-rounder. She kept bringing Amanda Lemos to the ground. Since her fights against Rose, she's really stepped up her grappling. So again, she keeps taking you down and taking your back or trying to get the crucifix. She will ultimately win on points. Now, Xiaonan, I feel like now that we're in the title fights, I need to put the glove down. Xiaonan, she won't be afraid to push against Weili for the center of the octagon. She's very quick, and I think she does start her fights looser than Weili does. We haven't seen her fight for the title yet, so that might change things for her a little bit, but she usually looks very comfortable right from the start. So I think she needs to aim for an early knockout here, though I don't think at all that Weili will come out aggressive like Andrade did for her fight with Xiaonan. On the ground, Xiaonan is very, defensive focused. She's in defense mode. Also worth mentioning, though, that she has decent, good. She has good takedown defense, so she won't necessarily be as easy to take down as an Amanda Lemos. All that being said, I think Weili has the upper hand here. And while this fight could go either way, I will give the win to Weili and still. Okay, finally, we have Alex Pereira versus Jamahal for the light heavyweight title. Okay, let's start with the incumbent champ, and specifically Pereira at light heavyweight, his true weight class, against Blachowicz. I struggle with that name. Blachowicz, right? He's sort of, Alex Pereira sort of looked slow and sluggish. And in a way, that's because he's really picking his shots. We We know a well-placed kick or a well-placed punch, just a well-placed strike from Pereira is all it takes to end a fight. And also because Jan was grappling, and that really took it out of Pereira, and they were at altitude in Salt Lake. But I think he averaged about just over 3 strikes per minute in that fight, and that won't get you very far with Jamahal. He did increase his output for Prochazka. He ate up Prochazka's leg. Prochazka almost wobbled him with, I think it was the overhand right and then a left uppercut. And ultimately, Pereira won in the second round by punches. Now, Jamahal. By the way, as a side note, I've been watching tape, and this morning I rewatched his fight against Paul Craig. And I had forgotten how gross that injury was. I don't know how I forgot, because now I'm going to be queasy for the rest of my life after watching that. Anyway, Jamahal has been inactive, at least in the UFC, for going on 15 months now. And that's never an advantage for fighters. Still though, I expect him to come out and control the center of the octagon with a high output, maybe even walk Pereira down. That's always a good look. We saw against Johnny Walker that he has the footwork and the sways to stay out of the way of a long, orthodox fighter. Granted, Pereira is a little bit sneakier with it than Johnny Walker. But yeah, I see Jamahal controlling the fight, setting the pace, and I'm finding this one really, really tough to call. I think if Hill can withstand Pereira's leg kicks, he will outstrike him and win one way or another. Nice little uppercut will do you. So this is another case of my brain says Pereira by knockout, but my heart says Hill. And the last time I went with my heart, it ended poorly. But I will give it another shot. I'm like Larry David, I don't learn my lessons. And so my final pick, my final prediction of this card is Jamahal and New. There you go. So guys, serious question. If I show up to the T-Mobile Arena on Saturday and tell them I'm Marina Rodriguez, do you think they'll let me in? I think that's my best shot at ever seeing a UFC event in person. So, might be worth a try. Let me know your predictions in the comments. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. Thank you so much for hanging out with me, and I'll see you very soon in the next video.